Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Robo Celestial here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 5 of What If Deku Had the Sharingan. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So, we begin. Battle training started with Team Midoriya and Uraraka going against Team Bakugo and Ida. Both sides strategized and decided to split up into 1v1 fights. Izuku ended up fighting Tenya, while Ochako stalled Katsuki. After Midoriya captured Ida by using an opportune moment to induce an illusion, he rushed to help Uraraka just in time. The two traveled the smoke and debris filled the room to get to the bomb when Katsuki fired off an explosion to rid the area of obscurities. Once it was all cleared, their position next to the bomb was revealed. Time seemed to stop for a moment. With anger boiling due to the situation, Kakin released a colossal explosion from his gauntlet that caused Deku to push Ochako out of the way so they wouldn't get severely hurt. The blast ended up obliterating the bomb, causing Katsuka's disqualification and the hero team to win. The battle training continued on with everyone else giving it their all. When the day ended, Midoriya and Bakugo hung out after class a bit to talk before Bakugo got bored and left, resulting in Midoriya following him out. The next school morning was rowdy. News reporters were surrounding the entrance to UA and harassing students. Katsuki hadn't been around Izuku, he would have been stuck answering questions about All Might for a while. After a while, Aizawa came out to stop the commotion and told the crowd that All Might wasn't there. A newer reporter got fed up at this and tried to trespass onto campus, but the automated security stopped her before she could get through the gate. Eraserhead started the class by reprimanding and calling out Izuku for using a more reckless plan than necessary and told Bakugo that he had potential, he just needed to get his temper under control. He ended his announcements by telling the class to pick a class president. Almost all the students raised their hands and talked over each other to say they wanted to be chosen, causing a commotion. Eventually, at the recommendation of Ida, the class decided to leave it to a vote while Aizawa took a nap. Izuku ended up getting voted as president, while Yaoi Rozu was voted as vice president. When lunch came around, Uraraka, Ida, Midoriya, and Bakugo sat together and chatted. They talked about Izuku becoming class president, which prompted Katsuki to offer to take the position if Izuku was so unsure about having it. Tenya tried to tell Katsuki off for trying to take the job in such a way, but was entirely ignored by the boy. Eventually, the topic of Ida's family wealth was brought up along with his relation to the pro-hero Ingenium and his inspiration for being a hero. Before their discussion could continue, the school alarm went off with the announcement that security level 3 had been broken. They asked a passing upperclassman what was going on and were told that someone had broken into the building. The group left the cafeteria with everyone else and got stuck in the crowd. Not long after they got held up, Ida was pushed against a window's face first and saw what was going on outside. With some quick thinking, he used Uraraka's zero-gravity quirk to make himself float and his engine to smash into the wall above the exit. He took control of the situation and informed the panicked students that it was just the media while telling everyone to calmly go back to the lunchroom. The situation at lunch led to Midoriya and Yaoi Rozu talking and deciding to hand the title of class president over to Ida. The next day, much to Izuku's excitement and Katsuki's indifference, Aizawa announced to the class that they would be doing rescue training. Midoriya and the other students grabbed their costumes and headed out. Ida tried to organize the class to board what he assumed would be a standard 2-to-a-seat bus, only to be disappointed that his hard work meant nothing because the bus seating structure was different from what he had expected. Once everyone was on the bus and it started moving, Sayu began a conversation with Izuku. I generally say what's on my mind, Midoriya. Izuku casually turned his body to talk with her more easily as he spoke. Oh? What is it, Asui? Asui put a finger on her cheek and tilted her head. Call me, Sayu. What does your quirk do? It looks like more than a boost in strength. Deku went into an incredibly detailed explanation about what his Sharingan could do, at points taking out his notebook to reference how he and Kakin trained and how his handling of the quirk improved. The entire class, barring Katsuki, was stunned to silence when faced with Izuku's seemingly endless knowledge and excitement when it came to quirks and heroes. Midoriya was oblivious to the way everyone was looking at him, but Bakugo could see it and pretty much guess what they were thinking. They were surprised, weirded out, and somewhat amazed at Deku's behavior. Most people were. If he hadn't been friends with Izuku for years now, he would have been in the same boat they were. When Midoriya finished talking and started paying attention to his surroundings again. Kirishima was the first to speak up. "Wow, that sounds like it'll be really helpful for all kinds of hero work, Midoriya. You could do all sorts of cool stuff with it. Not like my hardening. I'm good in a fight, but not all that flashy." The rest of the class joined in the conversation and talked about flashy quirks, who seemed the most likely to become a popular hero, and flashy quirks until they arrived. Once they got to the USJ, Eraserhead asked 13 where All Might was. Izuku noticed her hold up 3 fingers in response, and the two teachers continued talking in hushed tones that he was unable to hear. When the teachers were finished, 13 addressed the class and started explaining what they would be doing. Before the teachers could finish explaining what they would be doing, Aizawa noticed a swirl of black in the central plaza. The swirl quickly opened up, and a group of villains started piling out. The students soon saw, and Aizawa explained, that the area was being invaded by villains. Eraser's head told Kaminari to try and signal the school with his quirk and 13 to take care of the class before rushing off to fight the group. Before we get back into the story, I would like to say that we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes over the hard facts of the anime presented. Now, in case you guys didn't know, we have a third channel called Anime Theory. Anime Theory mainly focuses on a large variety of mind-boggling anime theories. If you are interested in content like this, please go check the description below or click the eye icon in the top right corner. Now, with that out of the way, let's get back into the story. 13 took the students and began to evacuate. They were stopped, however, by a smog-cloaked villain who introduced their group as the League of Villains. He declared that they were there to kill the symbol of peace. Right after the Mist Man's monologue was done, Bakugo, Midoriya, and Kirishima rushed him all at once. Izuku and Ijiro already had their quirks activated. Midoriya was sure the villain had looked him in the eyes and put him under hypnosis. As Bakugo and Kirishima attacked the villain from the front, Midoriya went around and attacked from the back without getting noticed. The humanoid Smog had seen the 3 boys charge headfirst at him. He evaded their onslaught, and he noticed the green-haired one had disappeared. He quickly searched around him, and before Midoriya could get a hit on him, he grabbed hold of the previously missing child and flung him towards the other 2 pursuers. The 3 students fell back and landed hard on the ground. The man enveloped the class in his mist, teleporting a fair amount of them away to different areas in the USJ. Midoriya, Bakugo, and Kirishima landed in the ruins zone, surrounded by villains. Izuku got off the 2 and they all stood up, back to back to back. Kaken let off some preemptive explosions, Deku kept his eyes activated and watching, and Ijiro re-hardened his arms as the surrounding villains continued to close in on them. Katsuki grinned whiter and whiter as they waited to attack. Deku, shitty hair, stay out of my way if you don't want to get blasted to hell and back. These extras are mine to kill. Izuku smiled, almost a smirk when he heard Bakugo's warning. Don't underestimate us, Kaken. Kirishima's shown how strong he is. Ijiro tilted his head towards Midoriya while keeping an eye on the now agitated villains. Thanks for the support, Midoriya, but we should save the Talcon for after the fight. It looks like they're getting mad. The villains went after them, going wave after wave to try and kill the 3 of them. The ensuing fight could only be described as one thing, an all-out brawl. Kirishima was able to hold his own, but compared to Izuku and Katsuki, he just barely couldn't keep up. The 2 were moving in what looked in perfect union to Ijiro. They seemed to know precisely how strong the other was and how they would move. It made sense with Midoriya's quirk, but the fact that Bakugo was able to understand where and what Midoriya was doing was impressive to him. He'd nearly gotten caught in a couple of Katsuki's blasts without realizing it until after the fact. Izuku was practically untouchable, and Katsuki was able to beat and blast away anyone who dared to challenge them. Ijiro battered those who decided the other 2 were too dangerous to go after, which was a fair amount of them. The group of 3 stood victorious among the large number of villains that were knocked out. Bakugo started walking around the bodies a bit to confirm they had beaten everyone. That's all of them. Bunch of mooks. Kirishima let go of the shirt of the guy who he had just knocked out and turned to the other 2 boys. Wow, you guys are crazy manly. I wasn't even able to keep up with you guys, but we gotta keep going. I'm worried about the guys who don't really have ways to attack. 13 probably has their hands full since we rushed ahead like that. None of this would have happened if we'd have just let him suck in that Mist Man. We gotta take responsibility as men. Bakugo started walking out of the building while telling the other 2 that he was going to go after the Black Mist villain and beat him to a pulp. The action got a noise of surprise from Ijiro and a nod of approval from Izuku. Midoriya followed Bakugo's lead. For now, we're gonna have to trust our classmates can handle themselves. If we want the best chance of beating them, we have to go after the person that got them here. Hearing this, Kirishima gave a wide grin and left the area with the two, talking about how manly they were being. The group went towards the central plaza, thinking it their best bet to find the villain from earlier. Unbeknownst to them, Sayu saw where they were headed and decided it would be a good idea for her to get ahead of them and stay close in the water in case they needed help. By the time the group got close enough to the plaza to tell what was going on, Aizawa was pinned to the floor by a hulking black creature of a villain, his body completely broken. The smoke villain was now in the plaza, and a pale man draped in hands was approaching Asui. Izuku was the first to run into action. With his emotions running, while at the prospect of losing a classmate, he reactivated his quirk, and despite the tiredness from his earlier brawl, he felt faster and powerful than he should have. He perceived things better, his sight was better. It was as if his quirk had just gotten a boost to what it usually did. At the moment though, it didn't matter to him. What was important was that his classmate was in danger and she needed help immediately. Thank you all for watching the video to the end.